LEGO has released so many good Star Wars minifigures in many different sets this year, and of course, some of these minifigures are already very valuable. In this video, I want to look at the 10 most expensive LEGO Star Wars minifigures released in 2025 so far. All prices are according to Brickset.com. Jumping right to it, I first want to look at Ki-Adi-Mundi, released in the Clone Turbo Tank this year. Now this brand new Republic Juggernaut is already a very expensive set at $160 retail price, and of course, to many the main draw will be the minifigures included, so it is natural that the characters included will be incredibly expensive. Ki-Adi-Mundi is a $20 minifigure right now, which isn't too much comparing to some other Star Wars minifigures, but of course, for a single minifigure, $20 will always feel like quite a lot. This isn't much different compared to the previous Ki-Adi-Mundi minifigure, which was released in 2018, but both minifigures go for around the same price. So if you want this character, this would likely be the best bet. In the same set, we also saw 3 Galactic Marines, and they are some of the most sought after new clone troopers right now. These minifigures are not perfect though, and they have some issues that people are not too happy about as well, such as the printed wastegapes, but we see that pretty much on every new clone trooper right now. We did see a new helmet mold here though, which is quite nice, and I think as a whole the minifigure doesn't look terrible at all, and honestly a bit better than I expected in today's standard actually. This minifigure is worth around $23 right now, but I think it is somewhat likely that after the set retires, it will be reused in some other way as well. So that might help bring this price down a little bit in the future. In the August wave, we also saw a brand new Jango Fett Starship playset, which was a surprising release considering we got a UCS Slave one a few months earlier. Anyway, in this set we got the first Lama Su minifigure, and this is the second time we ever saw a Kaminoan in LEGO form, the first one being in Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter in 2022. This is a really good minifigure, and what I think is a massive draw to this set, as it was excluded from the UCS set back in May. This Lama Su minifigure is close to $24 in value right now, which once again feels quite a lot for a minifigure, especially from a $70 set, making it around 34% of the set's total value. Earlier this year, LEGO released a brand new LEGO Star Wars character encyclopedia, updated for 2025. Inside of this, we got the first ever Emperor Palpatine from The Rise of Skywalker, and this was also the first time in quite a few years that we got to see a sequel trilogy minifigure in LEGO Star Wars. This is where the pricing gets a little bit strange honestly, as I believe this book is retailed at $22 right now, but getting this minifigure on the aftermarket, according to Brickset, will be around $24. So something feels a little bit off in that sense. This is also the same for platforms like Brick Economy, which lists this as a $24 minifigure. I wouldn't be too surprised though, as many of these exclusive book minifigures end up going for quite a lot. One of my favorites is the white Boba Fett that is now worth around $50. Once again from the August wave, we saw a brand new MTT, and this is in my opinion a much better set to consider getting compared to the Republic Juggernaut at the same price point. In this set we got a brand new Ayla Secura, and this was the first time we saw her since 2017. Similar to Ki-Adi-Mundi, this minifigure looks almost exactly the same as the previous minifigure, with very subtle changes here and there, and right now, this new minifigure is worth $25 US. This is a considerably better price than her previous minifigure, which is worth $37 right now, and with the difference being so minimal, I would much rather recommend this new minifigure if you would want to get this one in your collection. Once again, jumping back to the Republic Juggernaut, the most expensive minifigure in this set is Clone Commander Bakara, which is quite sad actually, as I think this is the worst minifigure in the set. I am not the biggest fan of how this character looks in general, but I think LEGO generally didn't do the greatest job either, especially as the helmet looks a bit off. This, however, is a $37 minifigure, which I think is absolutely insane for this set. And that said, if we tally up all the minifigures from this clone turbo tank, we are sitting at around $126, I believe. This is around 78% of the set's retail value, which is absolutely insane, and I think is kind of proof that most people will not be buying this set for the actual build, but instead for those minifigures, as getting them separately on the aftermarket is just so much as well. Now back to the MTT, the most expensive minifigure here is of course Clone Commander Bly. This was a very sought after minifigure when it was first rumored, and it actually came out to be one of the best modern Clone Trooper minifigures of these recent years, at least in my opinion. However, this is a $50 minifigure, which is honestly quite absurd, and I wouldn't recommend buying this minifigure on its own, but a part of the set, it is really good. It is a bit disappointing that this minifigure didn't get any arm printing though, considering that both Fives and Rex saw some arm printing on their minifigures, and we also saw arm printing on Obi-Wan Kenobi in a $65 set, so I would really hope to see that same treatment on Bly in a $160 set. But nonetheless, it is a very good minifigure. Of course, as the UCS Death Star still hasn't released, we have no idea what the minifigures will be valued at in that set just yet, but many of them are likely to be in the top 10 most expensive minifigures. In December, once all of the prices have settled for that Death Star and the August wave and basically every minifigure released this year, I want to make an updated video on all of that. If that is something you are interested in, consider subscribing to stay up to date. The third most expensive minifigure is a very surprising one actually, and that is Wicket from the buildable Ewok. So according to Brickset, this is a $65 minifigure, and as this video is based on Brickset prices, I left it in that spot. But also looking further on something like Bricklink, the average price still seems to be around that $65 mark. On Brick Economy, however, it is listed at around $27, which is something I would expect from this kind of minifigure honestly, and I think it is a much more realistic price in terms of where this minifigure might settle in a few months or even a few years. This minifigure was seen in the $130 buildable Ewok in August, which I think is a rather overpriced set for what you actually get, but I have seen a lot of people really love this new set. So if you want the figure, getting the whole set might be worth it too. The second most expensive minifigure is seen in the brand new UCS AT-ST, and that is of course the AT-ST driver. Now it's of course expected that UCS minifigures turn out to be very expensive as soon as the set comes out, and this one is now worth around $67, which is a lot for what this minifigure actually is. A lot of people have complained that this is a minifigure that should have gotten some dual molded legs, but of course, with the later wave of LEGO Star Wars sets, that is something we barely got to see. Despite that, the minifigure is probably the best AT-ST driver we have seen so far, especially for that arm printing, but once again, I wouldn't recommend getting it unless you are getting the full set. Now the most expensive Star Wars minifigure released this year is Jango Fett, specifically seen in the UCS Jango Fett Starship. This one is very good, and probably one of the best minifigures released this year as well. This version is different to the one seen in the playset, as that minifigure does not include arm printing and is only worth $14, while this exclusive variant is worth $80 right now. It is a pity that it was not included in the playset though, but with the backlash LEGO received about Rex a while back, I understand why they opted not to do that. Even though personally I think we should see the best minifigures in cheaper sets too. Whether this minifigure is worth $80 though, compared to the $14 variant, is up to debate, so let me know down below. But all that said, do you think any of these minifigures are actually worth that price and worth getting? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Then I will see you all in the next one. God bless you and cheers.